I am your host, FatDag, and you're listening to Wise Advice. My weight loss journey failed when I focused on how. It wasn't until I switched my focus to why that I truly transformed myself. Join the show on the web at fatdag.com and follow along on Twitter and Instagram at Wise Advice. Send in your comments, your questions, and your celebrations, and I'll include them as part of the show. Before we dive in, remember, when you're out of points, stop eating points. I'm honored to be your wingman as we walk through this journey together because I believe in you. Well, welcome to a very special episode, number 54, where I'm going to spend a good part of the time on this episode and just want to kind of fill you in with Operation FatDag. If you've been following along, you know what that is. You know that is an outreach from the Connect community, from me to you and all of us together, reaching out to a community that really needs our help. And it's a community that's near and dear to my heart. And, man, what an amazing, just totally amazing day. I could not have planned for a better day. I could not have asked for a better day. It was easily, the highlight of my life to this point. And so I want to share that with you. And what I'm going to do is special for you is I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of a recap ahead of time. And then I'm going to go through my slides pretty much as I did with them in the room today. So you can kind of get a sense. Now it'll be completely different because I learned this today. I feed off of that energy in the room. So as I went through the presentation today, I could feel the energy building up. And, so I'll start with the very, very early in the morning. This morning, I woke up. It was a regular day. I got on my scale just like I do every day. The scale was down, which was good. I've been tracking very well. So the scale's coming back down. So I hop on the scale, real happy with the number, starting the day off good. And I came downstairs and I had, the stack of letters that you sent in. And they've been sitting on my dining room table for a little while and I haven't touched any of them because I really wanted to save them for today. So I knew I had plenty of time. And so I started the morning off and literally, sorry for the visual, but I'm literally sitting in my bathrobe, sitting at my dining room table, and I have a stack of these letters that you sent in. And one by one, I start opening them and I start reading them because what I really wanted to do is I wanted to really take your energy and transform it back in and then just kind of spit it out to this group. So I started this morning and I opened the first letter and I opened the second letter and man, I tell you, reading what you wrote, it was powerful. It really, really got to me. And so, I remember some and I'm not going to share them, because a lot of them were very personal and very private. And in a lot of cases, you explained your why as to why you're doing it. And then you had beautiful words of encouragement and hope and thanks. And, oh man, I sat here it took me almost 2 hours to get through all of them. Literally one by one. When I got done, I took a picture of it. Maybe I'll share it on Facebook later, but I had a pile of envelopes on the floor, that was just like, just this monstrous pile. And the cards were beautiful and, very well written. It really touched my heart. And so I'm sitting there reading them and I'm saying, man, if these folks don't understand that we believe in them, we're missing something, And so when I got out and I counted them up, I had 166 letters from you guys. Truly amazing. I asked for 30. You over-delivered. Way to go on that. So I asked for 30. You got 166. So I put them all in this box and like I said, I really capitalized off of your energy. And then, I went upstairs to get ready, and so I'm thinking about, I had an opportunity early on to talk to a group of folks. That group was different. That was the first talk I ever did. My wingman invited me out. I talked to an entire squadron of military folks, but in that squadron, only a small percentage, maybe a dozen or less, maybe a handful were in the scenario I was. So most of them were just military folks hearing the story. So it didn't have the same impact as it did today, but when I spoke to them, I wasn't at my goal weight. I hadn't made goal yet. That was in August. I didn't hit goal till September. So it was different. I felt really good. I knew I looked better than I had, but I recognized this morning as I was getting ready that I had no anxiety at all about my physical appearance. Not at once did I go, I have to worry about what I'm going to wear, because let's face it, standing in front of a room, talking to people is intimidating. Now, granted, I've done it for most of my career, and so I know what that feeling is like. But every time I spoke to any audience about anything, always, I had the thought of, man, I know they're going to think I'm fat. I know they're going to look at this guy and go, oh my God, this guy's overweight. Look at, he's in the military. I know that. I didn't have that this morning. And I recognized that. I was kind of glad that I recognized it. I'm like, oh, I have no fear at all of what I look like today. And so I got showered, I got dressed, so I got showered and shaved and all that good stuff. And I went in to grab my uniform. And same thing, I put the uniform on, and not once did I go, I didn't even have a concern that it might not fit. That's odd for me. I wear the blue uniform. I don't wear it that often. And so kind of the joke in the military and the Air Force is that, we don't wear it often enough. So every time it's getting too tight. So, I was kind of wondering when I put it on this morning, I didn't even have that inclination or that thought that this uniform may be too small. I put it on, and admittedly, I'm sorry, but admittedly, I look good. And I'm like, wow, I'm leaving this house this morning. And so I'm armed with all of your knowledge, all of your inspiration, all of your motivation, all packaged inside of me, all bundled inside my heart. And I have 166 letters in here just waiting to get out. And I was free to tell the story because I had no reservations about myself. I had no self-conscious. I had no misgivings about what I look like. So I recognized that I was free to deliver the message I was meant to deliver. So being at goal was incredibly powerful. Incredibly powerful. So, before, like I said, before that I've spoke on the same topic, even in my Weight Watcher meetings, not meetings, but when I was invited to talk at meetings, when I wasn't at my goal weight, it was slightly different. So I recognized that this morning, and so here we are. I drive down. It's about an hour drive down to where I had to go do this talk this morning. And so I hop in my car, I put in my podcast. And so, again, apologizing, I listened to myself talk. I started at episode like 1 or 2, and I just let them play just to continue to soak in where I was when I started. So I drive down this hour drive down, and I don't even remember the drive this morning. I was just so engulfed in what I'm doing. And I remember texting the guy who I was meeting, and I said, I'm here. Let's get this done. So he comes out and he meets me in the parking lot. We shake hands real quick, and he kind of gives me the brief that, yes, these are Army soldiers. It's a room of 25. They're all in a point where they're struggling with their fitness test. They're struggling with their weight. They're struggling to make the standard, and it's not good. And so I'm really, really proud of the Army right now. I'm an Air Force guy. I've been Air Force for 24 years. The joke has always been, when I talk to my brothers and sisters in other services, I laugh at Kirby. Kirby can attest to this, is when I talk to other branches of the military, the joke is I talk a little slower for them so that they have the ability to understand. So I make fun of the Army, but I tell you today, I could not be more proud of the Army today. And because here's what I know about the Army. They take care of their soldiers. So I walk in this room, it's 25 people. There's 4 people in the back of the room who are kind of administering this class. These folks have been here all week. They've been here 8 days straight in a life fit camp. They're in a class where the Army has recognized that they are struggling with their PT test, and the Army is doing everything they can to retain these soldiers. That is incredibly awesome. if it existed, on the Air Force side, I either didn't get enrolled, I didn't know about it, something happened, but I didn't have this resource. And to see that the Army is offering it, was just absolutely incredible. So as you follow along, part of my why, or a big part of my why, episode 12 of the FatDag podcast, episode 12 digs into it pretty deep. So episode 12 tells you why I failed my PT test more than once, and I struggled, and I couldn't find the help. And I want you at some point, if you haven't already, go back and listen to that, because that'll kind of tie into this. But what I said when I was in the military is, the military for me does a really good job. If I had an alcohol issue, the military has a bunch of tools to help me with that. If I had a gambling addiction, the military has a bunch of tools. If I told them, hey, I'm not doing well, I'm potentially suicidal, the military has a whole handful of resources to give me. When I tell them I'm overweight, they tell me to go to the gym. When I say I'm struggling with food, they say eat less. So I equated it to, if I told them I was an alcoholic, it'd be like telling an alcoholic, well, just drink less. It'd be like telling a gambler, well, just make smaller bets. That's how I felt for the last dozen or so years in the military, is that I could not get my weight under control, and I couldn't find the resources to really to get me where I needed to be. That's where Connect comes in. That's where Weight Watchers comes in, because I found those resources that I need through that avenue. So again, seeing that the Army today, United States Army, the Indiana Army National Guard specifically, seeing that those folks have developed a resource specifically for people to get their weight under control so that we can tackle the number one retention issue in the military is incredibly powerful. So hats off to the Army for sure. From an Air Force guy, that means a lot. It truly does. And then the last piece before I dig into how I open my talk is incredibly therapeutic. For 20 years, I've struggled with my weight. I failed the PT test more than once. I was 2.5 years overdue on the PT test at one point. For sure, I should have been kicked out of the military. And so much so that my tour was getting ready to end. I haven't really shared this part with you much before, but, I was at a point where they were no longer renewing my orders. And so if I didn't pass this test, one of the last go-arounds, I would have been done. So I had a lot of, say frustration. I don't even know what the right word is, but I had a lot of energy built up around that. So to be able to walk into this room today and tell the story that I'm getting ready to tell you, was incredibly therapeutic for me. It kind of got that off my chest, and kind of like it closed that chapter in my life. And I needed that. And so it was really, really cool. But all of this stems from you guys reaching out to me, helping me early on, getting me to where I needed to be. And just my hat's off to you for sure. Thank you for the cards and letters. Like I said, 166. Isn't that incredible? And it was all in the course of like 2 days. And so mind blown. They invited me to come back to another talk. So at some point, maybe I'll put another request out saying, hey, looks like I'm going to kind of be doing this as well. So as I said, as I opened the show, I fed off the energy in that room. So as I go through the slides here today, or right now, as I go through the slides, I know it'll be a different topic. One of the things I'm not real good at is when I deliver any topic or any speech that I've done many times, I'm not good at preparing. I take great notes and then I just kind of wing it. I feel how the energy is in the room's going and I just kind of go. And so this will be completely different. I have some keynote. It'll be significantly abridged because of that. But I think you'll get the gist as we go through. So I'll kind of dive into it. So here we go. So here is how I, like I said, I was introduced by the sergeant who opened up, and he said to the room, he really just opened up and said, hello guys. Like I said, let me back up. For 8 days, for 8 days they've been in this room. They learned all about nutrition. They learned all about fitness. They've been working on their mindset. I mean, they've been doing PT sessions. 8 days they've been in this classroom, and I'm coming in on the last day to kind of send them off. And, just powerful. So here's how I go. So he introduces me, and they knew nothing about me. They, other than they know I'm an Air Force guy. They didn't know at all who I was. They didn't know my story. They just knew that an Air Force guy was coming in to talk to them. So to give you a visual to kind of help you out is, I'm dressed in my blue uniform from head to toe. My blue uniform fits very well. The shirt fits really snug around my waist in a good way. I've been working out, so I've got a little bit of muscle build. So again, admittedly, it looks really good on me. I'm really proud of the way that thing looks. For the first time in my military career, I love wearing that uniform. It looks phenomenal. So I got a whole handful of ribbons on my chest. I'm an E8, so I got a lot of stripes on my sleeve. They're all in their PT gear. They're sitting there, and I walk to the front of the room, and I know what they're thinking. I've been in similar scenarios where you're in a point where you're struggling with your weight, and they bring in a fitness expert to come talk to you. And like I said earlier, the Air Force is really good at saying, hey, if you're struggling with your weight, then work out more. If you're struggling with your eating, then eat less. And so I'm sure the resource exists, and maybe now this will help grow it. So here I go. I walked into the front of the room, and the first words I say were this: I am not a fitness expert. I'm not a healthy eating coach. I'm an airman, and I'm a mess. I'm someone who should have been sitting in this chair right where you're sitting, but for some reason I managed to fly under the radar. My leadership for a long time took real good care of me by ignoring the problem that I knew. Together we ignored it, and it almost cost me my career. I'm going to spend the next hour or so with you telling you only one thing: that you don't have to be here. That's right. You don't have to be where you're at right now. Sure, you got to be here for this class but you don't have to be here. You have the ability to do whatever it takes to get out of this room, to get out of this cycle. And you have that ability. Now, and here what I'm going to do. That's the only thing I'm going to tell you. We're going to spend an hour together, and that's what I'm going to leave you with. So I started my military career. Damn it, I'm a good airman. I'd give my life for this country. In fact, 24 years ago, I swore to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and I'd give my life to keep that promise. But the military has some rules. We have some guidelines. We have some things that we have to follow. I've received many awards and decorations in my life. In 1997, I was the Maintainer of the Year for the entire Air National Guard. You take the entire Air National Guard together, and I was maintaining radar systems, put in a package. They recognized me as the best maintainer in the entire nation. In 2002, I went into recruiting, and I was named the best recruiter in the entire nation in 2002. I've been given the Meritorious Service Medal. I've been given the Air Force Commendation Medal, the Air Force Achievement Medal. I was even awarded the Air Force Outstanding Military Volunteer Medal. By most accounts, this is a very, very successful career, but in the shadows lies a very dark secret. One that we don't often talk about in society, and for sure we don't talk about it enough in the military. Damn it, I'm a good airman in all aspects of my career, except for one. I have an addiction. That addiction causes me to struggle with my fitness test regardless of how much I want to pass this test. For 24 years, I've been in the Air Force, and 20 of them, I was overweight. I began to notice the struggle as way back as 1997. In 1997, I was in the Maine Air National Guard, and in our unit, we were a combat comm squadron, and our mission had changed. The world was changing, and the unit was transferring from Maine to New Hampshire. There was about 20 of us in the Maine Air National Guard who were reassigned to the state of New Hampshire. And so one by one, we all had to make the transfer down to the state. And so all of the people transferred down except for me. Because the transfer process had to go through the recruiting office. The recruiting office looked at me and said, "Mike, you're overweight. I can't transfer you." So in my entire unit moves to New Hampshire, and I couldn't go. So luckily I was 5 to 10 pounds overweight, or maybe 15. I don't know exactly, but I was overweight and I couldn't transfer. So I had to lose weight. So that's the earliest memory I have of being overweight in the military. So I ended up losing the weight. I ended up transferring and being back with my team, deployed numerous times with that gang, and just really never really looked back. In 2001, I wanted to become a recruiter. At some point I said, I want to enjoy my military career. I want to be able to offer this to other individuals. I want to make sure that the story of the Air Guard and the Air Force is told so that anyone else who has this desire and dream gets the right information and can make their own career. So in 2001, I said, I'm going to apply to go to recruiting school. I applied for recruiting school. I was accepted to recruiting school, and I'm getting ready to leave for school, and they tell me, oh, by the way, when you get to recruiting school, they'll do a PT test on day one. Now, I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't prepared for that at all, and I got about a week's notice. So that week before I left for recruiting school, I was on a crazy chicken and baked potato diet. I was doing whatever I could to try and lose 10 or 15 pounds. I got to recruiting school, and every morning before school, I would go to the gym, the first day before school, I went to the gym trying to burn off another 2 or 3 pounds so that morning when I showed up on day one of recruiting school, I could pass the PT test. And I did it. I was able to get that done, but man, I struggled with it. 2005, I wanted to go down and I wanted to continue my career. I wanted to do great things for our nation. I wanted to work in Washington, D.C., and I put in my application to go to work in Washington, D.C., actually living in San Antonio is complicated, but I was living in San Antonio, working for Washington, D.C., working for our nation's capital, and I put in my application and they asked for my fitness test scores. I didn't have a current fitness test. I couldn't do this. So I go to the base and I said, hey, I need to take a PT test. I didn't know where I was with the standard. I had no idea. I take this test. I don't even know the numbers. I don't even know how it shakes out, but I get done taking the test and they hand me my scores and they said, you passed. I celebrated. I didn't know, but looking back, I'm confident that whoever scored it incorrectly and took care of me. Because I don't believe I passed in that day. And so maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't know. It's irrelevant. But the point is, in 2005, I had to make that decision and I had to struggle with the test. I was 5 years in San Antonio and it was time to leave that job. Same thing. A PT test was due and I struggled with that, but I managed to get it done. So as you can see, all this time, my career was severely limited. There's things that I could be doing for this nation that were all hindered by my inability to get my food under control. I couldn't go to, a lot of the job things, we call them temporary duty, TDY. I couldn't go TDY, couldn't go to some conferences because I was not current on my PT score. But damn it, I'm a good airman. And the Air Force should love to have me, but I just couldn't get my weight under control. I was really, really good at losing weight. I just couldn't really pass the PT test enough to sustain it. So I didn't necessarily know how to pass, but truly, I wanted nothing more than to pass that PT test. I began trying to find ways to figure out how to beat the test. Rather than trying to work on passing, I figured I'd try and find ways to beat it. I went to a spa and I ended up getting a seaweed wrap, trying to take an inch or two off my waist so that when they taped me, I would be within standards. I kept thinking crazy things like, man, maybe if I fell down the stairs on the way to the fitness assessment, they wouldn't allow me to test today. If maybe I got in a small fender bender on the way to the test, that, I instead of going to the PT field, they would take me to the hospital and say, maybe today's not the day to take your test. I would walk into the fitness test that morning and I would look for the guy who would, our fitness test comprises of a tape measure around your midsection to start the test off. And I would look for that guy who I thought would give me the biggest break on the tape because it's a little bit subjective. And so I would watch him weigh and measure people in front of me, and I would look at them and I would look for the guy who I thought would help me. And I just spent way too much time trying to beat this test. But I was raised in a family with integrity. So as the Air Force adopted the integrity first as a core value, it was absolutely a natural fit for me. I made the conscious decision at that point that pass or fail, I'm owning it. I came to terms with it. I wasn't going to cheat the test. I was going to do my best, whatever my best was. And if my best was to fail a PT test, then that's what I did. That's the best. I owned it and I deserved it. So I came to terms with that. And man, it was all great except for one thing. I actually wasn't ready to take the test. I really wasn't. I was so out of shape. I took my first PT test at this time. I took a PT test at the point and I failed it. I failed my very first PT test and I owned it. You know, and so one of the things about being an E8 in the Air Force is that your leadership comprises of higher ranking individuals as well. So as I failed my first PT test, that counseling session with my supervisor was with the general. Now, I'm certain that generals have way more important things to do than to talk to an airman about failing a PT test. But that's the way the structure was. So I'd been in Indiana at this point now for about a year. I'm a brand new airman to the state. And I had to meet with the general, and I apologized to him for not properly preparing. I owned the fact that I owned this test. I said, sir, I'm sorry I let you down. I did not prepare. You know, and I kept thinking before I had the conversation with him, I kept coming up with all of the excuses. You know, hey, maybe the guy who taped me didn't tape me correct. You know, maybe the temperature wasn't exactly right for the run, or, you know, maybe I didn't get enough breakfast or whatever. I kept trying to think of all the potential excuses, but the integrity part told me to say, you know what? I own it. This is my fault. 100% my fault that I failed this PT test because I didn't prepare properly. So I apologized and I vowed to him, I said, sir, let me retest in 6 months. I promise you I will never fail another PT test again. So I go through and I go to Weight Watchers, I lose some weight. And I passed the PT test, you know, and so I'm essentially off the radar. So I passed the test and I go celebrate with food down to Buffalo Wild Wings, you know, and I go down to B-Dubs and here I am sitting there and I said, you know, I'm here to just enjoy life because I passed my test. It's time to celebrate. So I ate a whole bunch of wings. Life was really, really good. You know, I just finally passed the PT test after struggling it for so long. I tried to maintain my weight loss, but I just couldn't do it. Slowly, I lost my focus. I gained all of my weight back. And it really just slowly kept creeping up. I got out of shape, you know, again. And so it was time to take another PT test, and I failed a second PT test. Well, let me back up. I actually didn't fail the test. I refused to take the test. They came into me and said, hey, Mike, it's time to take the test. And I said, I'm nowhere near ready. So the fitness monitor looks at me and goes, well, I gotta put a test in the system. And at that point, I just didn't care. I said, no, do what you gotta do. Just put a number in. I don't care what you put in for numbers. I'm not taking the test. I'm not ready. It's probably dangerous for me to go take the test at this point. I'll probably die of a heart attack, literally, because I'm so out of shape. So I come down with my second fitness failure. And it wasn't because I took the test and failed. It was because I just refused to take the test because I knew better. So here I was on my promise to my general that I would never fail another PT test, and here I was as I didn't get it done. So I didn't test, and it was crazy. I needed help. I went 2 years without a fitness test. I was supposed to retest on my own. I was supposed to tell them I'm ready to retest, and for 2 years I hid. I tried everything I could to avoid anyone noticing. And for a lot of ways, I kind of flew under that radar like I talked about. My leadership, certainly they knew, certainly I knew, but we just never talked about it. And so for 2 years, I had stress and anxiety and guilt and fear and shame all building up because here I am, I'm a good airman. I want nothing more than to do what I'm supposed to do to get my job done. But I couldn't do it and I didn't have the resources that I needed. I gave up drinking soda thinking that would make a difference. It had no impact on my issue. I reached out to a military counselor and I said, I need some help. I'm dying over here and I'm struggling with this fitness thing and I just don't know where to turn. I sent a letter to about a dozen or so of my closest, most personal friends. And I said, you know what? I need help. I need someone to give me the tools, to give me some guidance, to give me something so I can get this test underway. So I sent a letter to about 30 folks, to both of my generals, to other airmen, to colonels, to lieutenant colonels, to chiefs, to personal friends, to people who I consider on my board of directors, that I sent them and I said, guys, I'm in a rough spot. I significantly need some help, more than you ever know. I need some help. And so here's where I'm proud of the Army, because the Air Force at this particular time, they looked at me and they said, well, Mike, go ahead and work out more and eat less. And then if you want to go to the gym, I'll be your gym buddy and I'll pray for you and I'll take good care of you. All of those things I knew already. I got one response that changed my life. And that's it. Out of the 30 or so emails I sent, one response significantly changed my life and it got me under track. And that person is my wingman. That person said, Mike, whatever you need, I'm here. And so at this point, we had a quick little conversation. I told him I'm 68 days away from my next PT test where I have to pass this test. And he said, okay. The next morning I wake up after sending an email and I get an email from him. It said, 68 days, T-minus 68. Mike, good morning. We got this. The next day I got an email, T-minus 67. Mike, we got this. 66, good morning, Mike, go after it. 65, 64, 63, 62. Every single day he sent me an email. And he kept me focused on what the prize was. So I started every single morning with an email that reminded me of what I was trying to do. And that changed my life for good. So all he did was reframe my mind. All he did was keep me focused and kept me in there to win. So for 68 days, we worked together and we got the test done and I passed this PT test with his help. So I remember that morning passing the test. I sent him a text, said, sir, thank you so much for helping me get here. We passed the test. We've gotten it done. It wasn't a beautiful pass, but boy, it was a pass nonetheless. And so I sent that text. I got done taking my test and off to Buffalo Wild Wings I went. All right. So I go to celebrate. I go back and celebrate with food because even though we'd shaped the mind, we got focused. We didn't really change any of the behavior. We just simply focused on a prize and were able to get the prize done. So I went to B-dubs that day. I celebrated with wings and then slowly kept going back up. I went from, I forget now, probably 200 and 205 and then it's 210, 215, 220. And that's when my weight hit 263 pounds. The most I've ever weighed in my entire life. So here I was. I just passed a PT test. I've had 2 failing tests, certainly in no position to do anything proper. But, I ended up, just being in a world of hurt. And so I made a plan. And I said, I'm coming up and I have to retake this test. The unit that I was in, on my own in January, I said, I need to hit the gym. I know that my test is coming up in May. I know I have to pass it. Even though I'm current with my test, I'm not physically able to pass a new test. So I knew a third failure would certainly be catastrophic. I absolutely knew that. So I take action on January 4th and so I just on my own this time, I said, what? I know I can do this. I've done it before. It's just a matter of getting it done. So on January 4th, 2016, I said, I'm going to go to the gym. I go to the gym at 5:00 in the morning, just about every single day in January. I go to the gym at 5:00 in the morning, just about every single day in February. On March 1st, I hop on the scale for just to check in my weight, and there was absolutely no change in my weight. So now I'm in trouble. So I had the test in May. I just spent 2 months in the gym thinking I was going to make a difference and I had no impact on my ability to lose weight. So here I am March 1st. March 1st, I know that Weight Watchers works for me. I know I have the ability to track. I know I have the ability to work the program. So on March 1st, I continue with Weight Watchers online. March 1st, I tracked everything I ate. I put everything in the tracker. I did really good. March 2nd, I tracked everything in the tracker. March 3rd, I tracked most everything I ate. On March 4th, I woke up and I tracked a little bit of the food that I ate. And March 5th, I didn't track a thing. March 6th, I knew I was in trouble. The gym wasn't working. It wasn't losing the weight. I tried Weight Watchers online to lose the weight and I couldn't get it done. On March 8th, I posted a photo on Connect. On March 8th, I walked into a meeting. On March 8th, I walked into a Weight Watchers meeting, and I said, I need help. And I said it to you guys on Connect, and that changed my life. So, sorry. So anyway, so March 8th is the day that you guys answered the call, and that's what gets us to today. And so, I'm armed with the tools, and I knew the program worked, and I knew it worked for me. I just couldn't switch my focus to why. So as I continued working the program on March 8th, with the help of you guys, I just kept tracking, and I just kept working the program. And I slowly made progress, and you guys believed in me long before I believed in me. And that's what kept me going, is as I had the power from an entire team of people behind me who said, Mike, you can do this. Now, I didn't believe I could do it. I mean, I believed I could get there, right? I didn't believe I could completely change my life, but you guys did. Not only did you believe in it, you proved to me more than once that it was actually possible. So, you can't find 3 people on this planet who don't know how to lose weight. You've got to find out why, and then the how just appears. If you know why you're doing something, the how, every day, the how is different. How I lose my weight today is different than how I do it tomorrow, how I did it last week. But why I'm doing it is consistent across the board. That part doesn't change. So my why is that I'm never going to forget the stress of this damn PT test. I'm never going to forget what it's like to put on a military uniform and look terrible in it. I'm never going to forget that as a damn good airman, the Air Force was willing to let me go because I couldn't keep my weight under control. I'm never going to forget that. So as I asked the room, as I asked the guys today, I said, why are you here? But more importantly, why do you not want to be here? That's what you got to dig into. That's what's going to carry you through. Not how, not the how doesn't matter. You got to know why you're doing it. So I ask you to write down your why. I want you to read it. I want you to literally write down everything you can know about why you're doing this. Because at some point, you need to read it. You need to continue to stay focused. You need to find a wingman. You need to find an accountability team that will continue to keep you focused on your why. You've got to take before photos. You've got to take photos of what you look like now, because that mirror can't show you a 10-pound weight loss. The before photo, 10 pounds is significant in a weight loss mode, but you can't see it in a mirror. It takes a photo to do it. So 19 May 2016, I'm do and die. Here we are, right? I got my why. I'm clearly focused. I have my team on Connect, and it's coming up on its time to do a PT test. This is the one. This test here on 19 May is going to determine the rest of my life. Good or bad. So armed with everything I have, knowing that I have complete control, I started, the weight started coming off, and on 19 May, I passed my PT test. I told about it on Connect. And so on 19 May, I passed my PT test, and the monkey was off my back. And so what do? I passed the PT test. Where do I go? No, I don't go to B-dubs this time. This time is different. That morning before I left the house, my wife packed me a lunch. She gave me a kiss and said, good luck. Go do this. So I passed my PT test, and I sat at my desk, and I ate a turkey sandwich, and I ate an orange. And I said, wow, this is different. Something is totally different. And from that point on, it's just been a completely different life. And so I want to make sure that I remember that. So then I passed the test in May, and then in August, I'm doing even better on the plan. So I said I wanted to retake the test because I now enjoy taking the PT test. I enjoy working out. So on 7 August, I took the test again just because I wanted to. And for the first time in my career, I got an excellent score on a PT test. Man, it was incredibly powerful to receive a score of excellent on a test that for so long has gotten the better of me. And so I'm at a point right now, anytime, any place, no matter what I'm wearing, I can go past this damn PT test. I don't care if I'm wearing my boots. I don't care if I'm wearing my dress shoes. I don't care if I've just got done eating lunch. I don't care if it's 2:00 in the morning. I can go past this test. I don't struggle with it at all. And that was my why. For 20 years, this test got the better of me. But now I own it. And so I just continue to work it. So for, some couple of tools I've developed, for my own accountability, I continue to check in on Connect. I developed a website specifically for me to tell the story because I know there are me's out there who think there's no place to go. They live in this shame and this embarrassment, but they want help. They want the ability to get control of this. They just don't know how. So I developed a website specifically for those people to have a resource because I didn't believe that it existed for me. I developed this podcast simply so that every morning you have somebody reminding you you can do this. I developed the app so that you can get to the podcast even easier because the podcast is somewhat difficult to get to if you're not computer savvy. So I developed this app. I developed an email newsletter for you so that you have the tools every day, every week, every couple of times. You get an email reminding you that you can do this. Because all of that played into my success. It kept me focused. It kept me in the right mindset. So all those tools are available to you, and I want to share them with you. And I want the world to know that you don't have to struggle. As I opened the talk, I said, you don't have to be here, right? You don't have to be sitting in this meeting room. The only reason you're here listening to me right now is because you don't know what you got. So I'll leave you with this. You need to know one thing. I believe in you. That's right. It's that simple. I believe you can do this. You have the tools. You have the accountability team. You know it's possible. I'm here as a peer to walk this journey with you because I believe in you. Yeah, I believe in you. So anyway, that's how I ended it, just like that. And so, it just incredibly, it just got to me, it just from a sense where, I said it earlier, I'm incredibly proud of the United States Army for having this program and inviting me in to have this talk. And, I wish I would have had that resource for me years ago. And I'm sure it existed. And I for some reason I missed it, I guess, but hats off to the Army. And so my hope and my dream at this point is that, I can continue to tell the story and that the tools continue to get redeveloped because this is the number one retention issue of our military right now is that, we have folks who want to do well. And then carrying it be outside the military circle. There are people all over the planet who want to live happy, healthy lives. They just are too focused in the wrong areas, and we need just to rechannel that focus into why you want to do this. So that's going to do it for this podcast. I really, I just want to let you know that I'm honored to walk this journey with you. I really am. And reach out at fatdag.com, click on Listen Now, send me an email. But that's going to do it for this time. Remember that losing weight, getting healthy has nothing to do with luck. You have to remain disciplined and focused. Set your sights on your goals and go after it. I wish you good focus.